Thank you.
First impressions of this Logosol portable sawmill. There are a few things I want to tell you. I'm going to get the chainsaw. The chainsaw now has an accessory called the timber jig attached. Once we have a flat face, we can use that guide by resting it on the already cut face. And Logosol sells the timber jig along with this rail. More. These brackets that you saw me screw onto the ends of the logs, right? Now, this sawmill comes with some plans and some metal brackets to make a rail. That is, you can just buy the timber jig and make your own guide. I haven't done it, but it's a video I want to make so I can tell you about it. In my opinion, whether it's worth buying the guide, this aluminum guide, which of course increases the cost of this sawmill, or with some metal brackets and a couple of boards or MDF or plywood, can we make our own guide? So, with this device, honestly, the sawmill works really well. It's well thought out. The materials are good. It's well made. It's well designed. That thing doesn't weigh anything. It's 3 meters long and the support system works really well. If you noticed, I flipped the log over and then managed to make a 90-degree cut. If I had turned it another half turn or a quarter turn, I could have trued it up. The other edge, in this case, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to leave this live edge on one side of the plank and I only have one of the edges straightened. I want to pour some water on this walnut log on this plank so you can see the grain. What a beautiful thing. This is European walnut. Look at the grain it has, this beauty. Here you can clearly see the heartwood of the trunk. And, well, this finish with a chainsaw always tends to darken the wood a little bit. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you stain rough wood, it always turns out darker than wood that has been planned. There are people who like this kind of finish. I think I'm going to plane these planks, but even like this with the chain marks, it still gives them a special rustic touch. I think this wood is so beautiful that it's worth planing, but that's just a matter of taste. This is the third log I've milled with Logosol. There's definitely a learning curve, especially. Not so much for milling, because that's pretty straightforward. You rest the timber jig on the rails, and honestly, it holds on really well. It has a good guide, it's quite stable. Obviously, the stability will depend on whether you stabilize the log you're milling properly. I would say that the learning curve, or the part that's not complicated but you have to get used to, is installing these supports, the installation of the supports, and the installation of the rail. It's something that took me, I would say, about an hour to really understand. So now I can do it a bit more smoothly. I think with a few more hours of work, it's going to be even better. Another thing I wanted to mention is that cutting with a chainsaw is not very forgiving at all. If you lift up even a little while you're cutting, believe me, it's going to show right away. The wood isn't very forgiving. You need a steady hand, and it's also a matter of practice to try to make it smooth. For example, here I stopped to change my grip on the chainsaw. It's better if you start cutting right away the same way you're going to cut the whole section. If you change your grip, most likely during that change, when you stop the chainsaw, it's going to leave a mark. That's been my experience so far. I wanted to share that with you. Another thing, if you're thinking about milling logs to sell lumber, I would think twice about it. Before deciding to buy a portable sawmill with a chainsaw, it's a much slower process and it's tiring. So I think these sawmills are meant for hobbyists or people who want to do specific projects. For example, maybe a small cabin. At most, I think at most, a small cabin, but really more for getting your own wood. For doing carpentry, like in my case, for example, I would use this sawmill, especially because it's super portable. So to go into a forest and be able to saw a log on site, it works for me. But if you want to dedicate yourselves to selling wood, I definitely think this is not the option. The finish, that is, how marked the wood turns out, will depend a lot on the chain you are using and how sharp it is. A well-sharpened chain cuts much faster than a dull chain. In this case, this walnut tree is dry, which is asking a lot from that chainsaw. It's a 462 a powerful saw, but even so, progress is slow, with walnut wood, which is quite hard and also dry. Ideally, you should saw the logs when they're green. It cuts much faster and puts less strain on the saw. I still need to make the guide. So you can see how it works with a guide. I've never used one. I haven't made one, actually, and I still need to try it out. Here I have the saw, and I also want to try another type of chain. This chain we're using here, the one I used for this video, is a semi-chisel. That is, it has this curve here on the tooth and it's sharpened at 30 degrees. The manual says, or what the experts always recommend, is that for cross-cutting, that is, for making cuts across the grain, like we were doing today. It's recommended to use 10-degree chains. Those are the degrees I use with Lucas 1000, right? When I use the accessory with the chainsaw chain, I use a 10-degree chain. It would also be interesting to include in that video or maybe make another separate video showing the comparison between a 30-degree cut and a 10-degree cut. If you're interested in seeing that video, I'd appreciate a comment. Well, I've talked a lot already, and I don't know what else I have left to say. Have a nice Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. And by mothers, I mean moms, not the followers of
That soccer team.
I want to send you all a hug. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.